Mike Owens here, joined by Dan Hardy after a massively successful night at PFL Europe. Dan, how are your emotions after such a great night?
I'm exhausted from being too excited, to be honest. I mean, every single fight of the night was just unreal. You know, from the very first one, Lewis Monarch against Oscar Owensworth, they came out 15 minutes, gave it everything they've got. It was an incredible fight. They were throwing down the last 10 seconds, and then Louis Lee Scott walks out and starts his opponent with 21 seconds, and just a great night. And of course, now we've got all of the winners, so they move through to the Paris playoffs, and then Dublin is set in the end of the year. There's so much money on the table. I'm excited for these young fighters to get their hands on it. Look,
we know you're a massive advocate for the amateur scene and obviously the pro scene. How big of an opportunity is this for all these fighters to, first of all get paid at such an early stage of their career, but also to cement themselves as one of the top prospects in the world?
It's a huge opportunity. I mean, you've got to think there's a lot of fighters that they're in IMAF, they're doing the amateur fights, they've got a system in IMAF that takes them through to the championships at the end, and they win the world championships. We've got first, second and third seed, the best fighters in the world in each weight class there. Then they decide to turn pro, and they might as well just throw a ball into a field and hope it lands in an MMA promotion, because they're just random. Yeah. It's like, can I get consistency on one show or another? And you just find yourself floating from one place to another, and opponents pulling out. I've been there, it's so frustrating. What the PFL is offering, not only because the 100,000 on the table, but also the exposure that you get, it's going to keep people in the tournament. Yeah. And if you don't want to be in it, we've got a replacement for you because somebody else wants that money. It's going to get these fighters consistency. It's stability in Europe is what it's all about for MMA.
Of course, you're massively involved in Emma and all of that, and massively in the British scene. This would be probably a difficult question for me to ask you now, Dan, but because naturally we've seen Simeon and Dakota co-headline. We've seen massive publicity for Conor Hughes, for Joe Luxton. Do you think PFL want the Brits to win the tournaments?
To be honest, it's a good question, because of course the way that the card was put together, Dakota and Simeon at the top, they're the undefeated fighters, they are the stars of PFL right now. But the way that these divisions are built around them, I mean, the female flyweight fights, the competitiveness of those fights, any one of those fighters can move through and give Dakota problems, because they've all got good grappling, they're all aggressive, they can all take a big shot, right? Yeah. And we've got one more fighter to add to that, so we'll have a fight on the Berlin card with 2 female flyweights. The winner of that will be the 4th person that moves through to Paris. Of course, it's good for the PFL, it's good for Dakota and Simeon if they keep winning, but if somebody else beats them, we've got another star on our hands. Yeah. That's what we're trying to discover. I mean, you've got to watch Jakub Nadoa. I mean, he is a scary individual. Drop somebody with a jab, followed up with one right hand. He could do that to anybody, including Simeon. And Simeon's got to be realistic about the challenges in this division. Every single one of these light heavyweights can stop him. And, I mean, the target's on his back. So, of course, it's a good opportunity for them. Brits on a British show, very, very exciting. But the target's also on their back. Like, you saw the pressure on Dakota after the fight.
Yeah, of course.
Like, that was just the relief of, oh my goodness, it's over, I can relax. And it's a big ask for these young fighters. So there is a benefit in them being the superstars of the PFL, but there's also a lot of pressure that comes with that. And you can't underestimate the talent in their divisions.
Look, in the way that the UFC has a massive hold over, say, the world scene, the Cage Warriors has a massive hold, and Cage Warriors do great things, but they have a massive hold over the British, European scene. How important is it for the development of British and European MMA to have PFL Europe in the game, if you like?
It's very important. Cage Warriors has played an amazing role for myself and for the UFC and for mixed martial arts in general, and it will continue to do. I know Graham Boylan's working hard for Cage Warriors here as well as over in the US, and I don't expect that to lose any steam, because he's ferocious with his determination. And we need it. We need that. We need Aries in Paris. We need Hexagon and Octagon. We need all these shows. And like the PFL is not going to take anything from any of those shows. We're just bringing more opportunities, and the consistency of the opportunities. And the other thing as well, I keep going back to the same thing. Not many of these shows are signing people from their amateurs, right? But there are so many good amateurs that are proven as amateurs. Shea Ingram, as we were talking about a little while ago, he's going to go a long way. He needs the opportunity to step into a pro bout, knowing full well that the stage is set for him to build his career on top of it. Instead of having one good fight and then moving somewhere else and having another good fight, it's we need that consistency. Yeah.
Look, it's been a big 8 days for you, let's be honest. We've gone from Veronica's fight at UFC London to the first PFL Europe show. Can you just reflect on what the last 8 days have meant to you?
Has it been 8 days? It feels like it's been months. Honestly, it's been a wild ride. You know, we started at Christmas for training camp. You know, we put a solid 3 months of work in the build up to UFC London. 3 years out, a lot of pressure, but she just did incredibly, and that was a huge roller coaster for me of emotion, because it's, you know, UFC London. You know, I've got emotions attached to that, being the fact that it's the O2 Arena. I've been knocked out there. I've won by knockout there. I know that roller coaster of emotions. I knew the pressure that was on her shoulders, and she just looked incredible. I couldn't be more proud of her. And then, you know, we woke up on Sunday and I thought to myself, right, PFL work, let's get started. So it's literally just ran into this next week. I'll take a breath tomorrow, I'll have a little breathe, and I'll have a think about what's happened over the last 2 weeks, and then I'll do my BT Sport breakdown show on Pereira Adesanya. It never stops, my friend.
Last one from me, because I was actually speaking to your mum and dad while you were completing the scrum with the rest of the media. We're talking about how you have a very much an ability to focus in and to, you know, the drive you have to whatever project you have to complete it to the best of your ability, for lack of a better phrase. What is the key thing that you're trying to accomplish, or the key thing that you're perhaps trying to change with PFL Europe?
I want to bring stability to Europe for mixed martial arts. I want there to be a league presence in Europe where all young fighters can go, right, no matter where they want to go or what they want to achieve in the sport, they know that they can channel themselves through the PFL and achieve great things, and set themselves up for whatever they want to go on and achieve afterwards, whether they want to go on and kickbox or box or go to the UFC or whatever, or fighters coming from the UFC to PFL, which we're now starting to see a lot more. I think there's going to be more of an exchange between organisations with fighters in the future, and I think fighters are going to have, you know, more control over their own careers. They won't be locked into contracts quite as much. And I think, you know, ultimately what the PFL is offering is an opportunity to have a great career before you move on to your high-level pro career. You know, PFL Europe is the first league, then we're going to have several leagues growing around the world, which is going to do the same thing, gathering talent in each one of those regions, and then we just keep feeding it back in. And I think ultimately, as we grow, amateurs will join the PFL, they'll stay with the PFL, they'll go through the European Championship or the Middle East Championship, they'll join Global, and Global then will be the best fighters from around the world, from all the leagues. Then we'll have the best fighters ever, you know, everywhere, all over the world. And then we've got the pay-per-view options as well. So it just scales up. You know, we'll have Francis Ngannou in no time coming over and fighting for us. I just feel it in my bones.
That might be an exclusive. So
I just feel
we
it in my
might
bones.
clip that and clip it.
Yeah, I just know he's coming. I just know he's coming. I can just feel it. Like it makes sense. His demands for the UFC is exactly what the PFL are offering.
Yeah.
Right. So everything that he was asking for from the UFC, it's already on the table over here. Right. As long as the money's on the table alongside to match the heavyweight king's purse, then I think he'll be happy, and I think we can certainly do that for him.
Dan, it's been a great night. I could stand here and talk to you for hours. I think we already have once or twice.
We have, yeah.
But I can't. Thank you. I can see the sweat on your forehead, so I'm going to let you go. It's been a great night, and thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
Perfect.